Hi everybody, I'm Tony Schaefer, and this is the 2018 Kia Niro plug-in hybrid electric vehicle. Spoiler alert, I kind of like it. But first, let's do some credits. So this is my second day with the Niro plug-in. And let me tell you, the first day when I got the car, it was pretty much depleted. It showed 6 miles of range when I got it. What's weird is I drove the car for almost 10 miles before the battery ran out. I'm not exactly sure what's up with that. Kia says the Niro will get 26 miles to a charge. So I fully charged it. I drove 24 miles and still had about 7 miles of range left for 31 miles. So here I am, day 2, starting off with another full charge. I'm going to drive pretty much the same 24 miles, and I'm going to see how much is left when I get to my destination. So there's something kind of weird that Kia has done with acceleration off the line. Anyone who's driven an electric vehicle knows that as soon as you press the accelerator, you have instant torque. That's just the basis of how electric motors work. But what I've experienced so far is that when I press the accelerator, it's almost a gear-like reproduction. I don't know what to call it, but it's certainly not a steady, aggressive acceleration like you would expect from an electric vehicle. It's almost as though Kia decided to reproduce the gears to make conventional car drivers more comfortable in an electric vehicle. But if that's really an intentional thing, I feel that they've completely defeated the entire purpose of getting an electric vehicle. I mean, of course, most of the intent and purpose is to save gas. Let's be clear on that. But another reason to get a plug-in or an electric vehicle is that they're damn fun to drive. And if Kia took that away from the driver, that, in my mind, is a shame. So the Niro has a lane keep assist feature, and let me tell you, it is aggressive. Once it identifies the stripes on the left and the right, or the curb, or whatever, it keeps you in the middle of the lane. It's not just that it keeps you from going outside of the lines. You can feel it actively tugging on the steering wheel to keep you centered. It's a little disconcerting at first because it feels like someone's actually tugging on your steering wheel, which I guess it is. But after a while, you just get used to it, and you know that the car is working actively to keep you in the lane. It's really interesting, and I've kind of grown to like it. I will say about the lane keep assist, it does read the lines and try to follow the lines. There have been a couple of times where there's a turn lane that develops off the right, and I can actually feel the car wanting to tug to the right to follow the line. That's unfortunate. I don't know what Kia can do to fix that, because if the car is programmed to follow the line and the line moves, of course the car is going to try to follow the line. You always have to have your hands on the wheel, and the driver is ultimately responsible. You can't blame the car if you are not being responsible. So there's that. Once the lane keep assist finds the stripes, it will keep you in the lane. However, you are required to keep your hands on the wheel, otherwise it yells at you. So let me tell you a little bit about the dashboard here of the Niro plug-in. I really like it. What's really interesting is that the screen that they use, there's a center screen, there's two dials on either side, and the best way I can explain the screen is like a Kindle. And I say that, a Kindle compared to an iPad or an iPhone or a Surface Pro or whatever tablet you're accustomed to. And by that, what I mean is, it's not glossy. It's not like colors are jumping out at you. It's not like it's trying to blind you. It just is. The way the screen presents the graphics is really, really pleasing to the eye. And I mean that in a way that you don't fully appreciate until you sit in one and you look at it and you realize how easy it is to look at. Also, because it's matted, it doesn't throw any sun glare or anything. So whatever it is they're doing on this dashboard, it's really nice. It's really easy to look at. Okay, so I'm just checking in here, and I've driven 15 miles, and the battery indicator is showing me that I have 15 miles left. So of a projected 26 miles of range, so far it looks like I might get 30. That's not bad. It's always joy when a car company under promises and over delivers. So we'll see what I get when I finally get to my destination. So the Niro that I have this week is fully tricked out. It's got everything, I'm sure of it. I can't think of anything that's missing. One of the things that really shocked me is the vented seats. This is the first experience I have had with vented seats. So not really knowing what to expect, I pushed the button. I didn't realize I turned them on high, and 10-15 seconds later my butt was cold, my back was getting cold. It was a little disconcerting at first because it was a little weird, my butt's getting cold. But I can imagine on very long drives, and occasionally I take 7 or 8 hour trips in my car, a vented seat is going to be a godsend to anybody who drives a full day in their car. So I'm sold now. I'm going to be disappointed when I go back to my car that doesn't have vented seats. So along with the lane keep assist, the car that I'm driving also has the dynamic radar cruise control, or the smart cruise control, or whatever they're calling it. You know, it monitors the distance between you and the car in front of you, maintains a distance, or it maintains the speed. With those two items on long drives, interstates, and whatever, you can easily begin to understand that the driver doesn't have to stress as much, constantly maintaining lane position, constantly maintaining speed or distance. Of course, these are driver assists. Driver must be responsible. The driver's hands must be on the wheel at all times. But I do like the driver assist package that allows the driver to relax a little and, quite frankly, not get so mentally fatigued on long drives. So I really like those things. So the Niro plug-in is really looking at electronics and technology that people bring into their car. Here under the dashboard, there are two 12-volt cigarette lighters. There's a 3.5 millimeter auxiliary auto, a USB port. If you pop open the glove box, there's another power supply in here, and there's another power supply in the back. And if that's not enough, there's a pad here under the dashboard with a Qi charger. So if your phone supports wireless charging, you can set it down and pick up some charge while you're driving. So this car is really set up for a family with a lot of devices. And like I said before, with the driving, this is a good car for long distance driving with the cruise control, the lane keep assist, the vented seat. I could easily see taking this car on a very long day trip and not being uncomfortable, not being unplugged. Yeah, I mean, so far, I have to say this car is winning me over. So when you get in your Niro, start it up, you pull the shifter back to drive. Up on the screen it says Eco. And at first I thought Eco just meant that there's Eco, there's normal, there's sport. So I thought, okay, the acceleration is a little sluggish off the line. I'm in Eco mode. How do I shift into normal mode? Or preferably, how do I shift into sport mode? Well, I went through the manual, and what I found was Eco mode is simply telling you that you're driving in EV mode. If you move the shifter over to the left, you can do manual shifting, and when you do that, it spins up the engine, overrides the EV mode regardless of how much charge you have, and puts you into sport aggressive mode. That's a bit of a shame. I was really hoping for a sport EV mode. There's very few things that I find more exhilarating than driving an electric vehicle in sport mode. It's a shame that Kia seems to have neglected that and forces you to turn on the engine if you actually want to have a little fun in your car. So one thing I discovered is that Kia clearly doesn't want you messing around too much with the dashboard while you're driving. So much so that I simply wanted to make a gauge adjustment on the dashboard in front of me. And when I tried to go into the settings screen, I was advised by the car that I have to shift into park before making any configuration edits. Which I get, you know, that makes sense. It's just that I think there should be a few things that I should be able to adjust on the fly. It's not that distractive. So here I am, I've reached my final destination. You can see I've driven 24 miles, and in the lower left it's showing 9 miles remaining. So that's 33 miles of range this morning, and that's not bad for a car that's supposed to get 26. So it's good that they under-promised and over-delivered, in my opinion. So here's something I learned the hard way. The Niro plug-in does not have electric heaters. It doesn't have a heat exchanger. It doesn't have resistance heating. It uses the good old internal combustion engine to generate heat. I found that out the hard way because it was kind of chilly this morning, and I had the air conditioner set to auto from yesterday. Well, yesterday evening it was cooling, but this morning it called for heat. So it spun up the engine. Totally caught me off guard. I did not expect a plug-in electric vehicle in this day and age to require spinning up the internal combustion engine. And that, I don't know, that's kind of defeats the purpose. I mean, if it never gets cold, you know, you're in California or maybe Arizona, even there it gets chilly. But here in Chicago, it's cold for months at a time. So does that mean that during January, February, and a lot of March, I'm going to get zero range of electric driving because I have to run the heater? It seems pretty defeating to me. So a couple of times this morning, I accelerated really hard in order to force the internal combustion engine to come on. And I got to tell you, I honestly, I kind of had to work it. So it fought it, but then the engine did come on to provide the additional power that I was asking for. It came on instantly, and then I'll tell you, when it was no longer needed, it shut off again. And you might be thinking, so that's the point of an electric vehicle. But let me explain that there are some vehicles, the Prius being one of them, that once the engine comes on, it will run until it's gone through an entire warm-up cycle, and then it will shut off again. The Kia, on the other hand, like I said, engine comes on, you no longer need it, the engine goes off. So Kia has a plug-in vehicle with an 8.9 kilowatt hour pack, and this one is fully loaded, and it comes in the mid 30s. Well, in order to reach that price point, it's understandable that Kia had to save some money somewhere. To that point, there is some hard plastic here and there, but it's well executed. I have to say, I think that it's a good offsets of the light and the dark, the textured plastic, the smooth plastic, the leather offsets here and there, and the offset stitching. I just still, like I said before, sitting here in this car with this cockpit, I think they've done a good job. I think it's well executed. So the sun has finally come out here in Chicago. It's been extremely cloudy all week. But this gives me an opportunity to show you one of the little things that makes me happy. And to be honest, it doesn't take much to make me happy. You see, let me explain. I drive south every morning to go to work, and I drive north every evening to go home. So the sun is always right out my driver's side window. It's always right there, and it's always annoying. And by some weird quirk, it's always in the gap that's not covered by the visor, which is why this makes me happy. Really, that's it. That's all it takes. I've driven a lot of cars that don't do this, and I'm disappointed every time. This makes me happy. Okay, hi everyone, here I am. It's Friday. It's my last commute day with the Kia Niro, and I want to show you something real quick. So I got my other phone here, and I'm going to show you that right down here it shows 4 miles of charge remaining. I haven't driven anywhere yet, so I expect after 4 miles that will be fully depleted. We'll see how it goes when I start driving. So it's Friday. It's my last day with the car. The sun is out, so I'm sporting the shades. I got my lovely sliding visor going here. Interesting thing, this past Wednesday we were podcasting, the What Drives Us podcast, recorded live every Wednesday night. And I had mentioned that I had the Kia Niro. One of the panelists corrected me and said, actually, it's pronounced Niro. Okay, I gotta tell you, I don't recall ever hearing anyone pronounce it Niro. I understand it's spelled N-I-R-O, but everyone I've ever heard reference this car, everyone I remember, has called it a Niro.
Introducing the most fuel-efficient crossover, the Kia Niro.
All right, following up on what I did before I started driving, I had 4 miles of EV range, and it lasted me 6.3 miles. So I just find that a little interesting, and especially what's interesting is that there is no decimal place here in the display. You just get a straight number. So I didn't actually get to see how it ticked down, but I think I mentioned before, it does seem that it's kind of weighted, that you're burning the EV range mile for mile until you get about halfway or so down, and then it seems to come down a little slower. And I don't know if this is because it's taking into consideration your driving habits and it's adjusting, but yeah, like I said, it showed me 4, it gave me 6. I'm not sure what to make of that. So my wife and I went out last night. I let her drive the Niro around. She loved it. She absolutely loved it. If you saw my RAV4 hybrid review, you'll know that she actually really enjoyed the RAV4, but she actually said that the RAV4 got knocked down a notch now that she's driven the Niro. All the things that I mentioned, the dash, the way it's laid out, the real subtle colors, the cockpit is really nice. She really enjoyed that. Even the lane keep assist, she thought was a really nice feature. I asked her about the electric motor shifting, and I was trying to point out, here's what I'm talking about when it does this or it does this. She didn't feel it. She didn't notice anything. She didn't feel that there was anything out of the ordinary, and she told me I was a hypochondriac and that I'm probably the problem, which of course is her answer to a lot of things. But in this case, it was a non-factor for her, and she really likes the Niro. So who knows? Maybe now, instead of a RAV4 being in the garage soon, there might be a Niro in the garage soon. So I don't know if you've heard, but Kia recently announced that they are going to release an all-electric Niro. It's going to be released overseas at the end of this year and hopefully be brought to the North American market in 2019. They are projecting 230, I think, to 250 miles on a charge, which puts it right there with the Bolt. So it'll be a Bolt competitor. That's more than a Leaf right now. If they can bring it in at an affordable price, I think they will have a strong contender for a really good electric vehicle. So I'm driving the Niro in hybrid mode because I intentionally did not plug it in last night. And I gotta tell you, it does aggressively shut off the engine, which is a good thing. And when I say aggressively, what I mean is some hybrids are hesitant to turn off the engine. It's almost as though they think you're going to need it again really quick, so I don't want to shut it off and then bring it back on. The Niro takes the opposite approach. And if there's charge in the battery and the engine's not needed right now, it shuts it off. So I just accelerated from a red light, and of course the engine came on, got me up to speed to about 40 miles an hour, what I'm doing right now. And once I leveled off, the engine shut off and I'm running on battery. And so far, I have to tell you, on this drive, this is my regular drive that I take to work, it's crushing it. I'll get the final numbers when I get into work, but so far, this is pretty damn impressive. Okay, so here I am at work. I just pulled in, and I know you're not going to believe this, so let me take my other phone here, and let me show you. I reset the fuel economy meter when the battery expired. Remember, I had talked about this. It's at 6 miles, it expired. When I got to work, it read 81.8 miles per gallon. Now, I'm astounded by this, to be honest. And I am not trying to, I'm trying to be fully honest with you here. I know fooling around. And to prove it, here's my regular 23.8 mile drive with the 6 miles of EV. It's 98.1 miles per gallon. But again, I reset it. So 81.8 miles per gallon in hybrid mode for 18 miles, driving into work. That is absolutely astounding. I had never seen a hybrid on my regular drive. And again, you can see I come down, I did the regular 50 minutes. So it's not like I was driving really slow or trying to nurse through whatever. It was my regular drive doing my regular thing. Yeah, one more time, 81.8 miles per gallon. I'm going to repeat the same thing. I'm not going to plug it in during the day, and I'm going to see what kind of mileage I get on my drive home. Okay, I am home after my evening commute, and I can tell you that for the 14 years that I've made the same drive, 13 of them with a Gen 2 Prius, and one this past 1 year with a Prius Prime, the drive home has always returned lower mileage. And with that said, let me pull out my other phone / camera here and show you that 22-mile drive, and I had to run an errand, so took a little longer this time, returned 60 miles per gallon. So it gave me 80 plus miles per gallon on the way down, and 60 miles per gallon, it turns out, exactly on the way back. So even 60 miles per gallon is pretty substantial for a car this size. So whatever Kia is doing, I say bravo, because these are really good numbers. The back seat is extremely roomy. There's plenty of leg room, plenty of headroom. There's no hump here in the middle. You have a couple of vents for the occupants in the back, a power supply, and it's not a cigarette lighter either. It's an actual 120 grounded plug. There's an armrest with a couple of cup holders. Tell you what, the kids are going to be very comfortable back here. So the cargo area here, the Kia Niro plug-in hybrid, is not as spacious as, let's say, a RAV4, but it's plenty spacious enough. You can fit a lot of groceries or other supplies back here. By now you're probably wondering what this is. It turns out this is the clever little pouch that they give you for the power cable. And they Velcroed the back, which somebody was really thinking, because if you keep this in the cargo area, you know it's going to slide around. If you Velcro the back, it stays put. More than that, if you need the floor space, you can just stick it to the back of the seat. Somebody was really thinking about this. So here I am at home putting together the video that you just watched. Thanks, by the way, for watching through the whole thing. And I realized I didn't put together a conclusion. So let me tell you what I liked about the Niro. I liked that I consistently achieved more than 26 miles on an EV charge. 26, of course, is what Kia tells you that you should expect. I was getting 30 or more every single day. I think that the Kia Niro is good for long distance trips. I mentioned the heated and vented seats, the dynamic radar cruise control, lane keep assist, all the different ways to power devices. And the back seat is very comfortable for the kids or friends. I think it's a really good long distance family driver. I appreciate the fact that the internal combustion engine shuts off aggressively, either because it came on during EV mode when you needed the extra power, or during regular hybrid mode, which of course leads to killer hybrid MPG. As you saw, I got 81 miles per gallon on my drive to work, 18 miles. And then on the way back, I drove it entirely in hybrid, and I got 60 miles per gallon. And that is astounding, especially for a CUV. So a few things I didn't like. I don't care for the double clutch 6-speed transmission. I especially thought it was weird that Kia decided to clutch the electric motor. I find that really kind of weird. I don't like that power mode kicks on the internal combustion engine. I would have appreciated a more powerful EV mode, but yeah, it just doesn't seem to exist in the Niro plug-in. I also don't like that the heat turns on the internal combustion engine. Here in Chicago, it's going to be 3 or 4 months of nothing but heat, and that means the internal combustion engine is going to be on the whole time. So mileage is definitely going to get ruined during the colder months. So again, thanks for watching the video. I appreciate your time, and if you could, take a couple of seconds and subscribe to the What Drives Us YouTube channel. We really appreciate it, and like I said, we record our podcasts live Wednesday evening, and we have a live chat room. So subscribe to the channel, sign up for notifications. You'll get an email as soon as we start recording, and you can jump on the chat room and interact with us and other people in the chat room. So once again, I'm Tony Schaefer from What Drives Us, and this is my review for the 2018 Kia Niro plug-in hybrid.